If you were in a room with everyone you ever met, who would be the one you'd look for? My app calculus teacher, he was the only person in the entire school who noticed I was being abused at home. He approached me cautiously, never judged or blamed me. He treated me with respect at a time where no other person did. It broke my heart when he died a few months later. I never took the app calculus test because I was devastated. He was my teacher years before that, so I always looked up to him. Original post removed. Hey everyone, thank you for the thoughts and support, but I'm taking my response down. As it turns out, one of my ex's kids is a Redditor, recognized the story, and shared it with his mom. It wasn't my intent to hurt anyone by posting this, but it's harmed people anyway. That's not what I wanted. I never expected my response to blow up the way it did and didn't really think about how sharing this story might impact others. To those who were hurt, I'm genuinely sorry. If you've shared my original post in any other communities, I ask that you do the same. Edit again. I've received several DMs asking why I pulled this down, and a few claiming it was a scam. It wasn't. For them, and anyone else wondering the same, this will be my last update in this discussion. I will not be providing any additional details beyond the fact that my response has unintentionally caused very real emotional harm to people involved in the story after they became aware that I'd posted it. While I can't undo the hurt I've already caused, I absolutely do not want to make things worse by leaving it up. If you have reposted my original response to another community, please consider removing it. That hurts, man. I hope you get to meet her someday. My childhood best friend. We were best friends from 4 to 17. He battled with leukemia from 13 to 17. The last year of his life he was constantly in and out of the hospital and was immunocompromised. I got to see him, but we had to keep our distance. We were planning on going to the same college for engineering. I know all he would want to know is if I did it and kept moving. I plan on naming my firstborn after him. 12 years later and I still think about him most days, and he is my driving force to stay positive and keep on pushing. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words. Yes, I went to the school we were planning on. I got BS in mechanical engineering and am currently getting a master's in engineering management. His name was Brian, so we named the child Brian or Brianna. Please do not purchase awards for me, donate that money or buy a beer. If it's not too impolite to ask, did you get your engineering degree from the university? He comments a bit on Rask engineers, so I'd assume so. My dad, I miss him. For me it would be the guy who mooned me in downtown Denver one day. #X200B, as I'm pulling up, a homeless looking man in baggy jeans and a crooked smile points at me and grins. Before anything in my mind can register, he turns away from me, drops his jeans and moons me. Underneath? Another pair of jeans, completely obfuscating his lunar entities. He lets out a laugh bathed in hysteria and casually walks away from me, walking towards the financial district, knowing his mark saw nothing but cotton. I got use. So when I was super young, me and my sister would play in the backyard. There was also another street that was beside us, and another family's backyard came up to our fence. There was this girl that would always come IP to the fence, and QLL, 3 of us would play together. One day she and her family vanished and I never saw her again. Just to be clear, this is not a romantic thing. We were just really good friends. But I haven't seen her in so long I forgot everything about her. Name, voice, age, even her face. I literally made a comment super similar to this one. It'd be so cool to learn about this life of a childhood friend you don't clearly remember. All we associate it with is a happy time. There was also this old fella who picked me up when I fell on my skis in Colorado about 7 years ago. He was a kind sir, one who I bet would have very interesting stories to tell. I met a middle-aged woman in outside a library when I was 13. We had the best conversation while waiting for the bus. She had cancer, never found out what happened, but it was one of the best convos. I think people are magic. You just gotta find the moment when brain strangers collide to feel it. I've always wondered. It's been 17 years since then. Still a fond memory. I tell this story every chance I get. I was sobbing at a bus stop in NYC after a bad fight with my boyfriend. After a few minutes, a homeless man in the corner silently offered me the last of his vending machine bag of chocolate chip cookies. I'll never know his name and I couldn't describe his face, but that gesture is seared into my memory for life. It's funny how people who have nothing are usually the most generous and kind-hearted. I suppose being so vulnerable themselves, they fully understand how it feels and are able to truly be empathetic. Edit. Thanks for the award and upvotes, guys. My friend Matt, who died back in 2005. He was essentially the architect of my moral compass. That's odd. I lost my childhood best friend Matt under bizarre circumstances back in 2005. I miss him terribly. Even the people who are dead now? My grandpa. If not, my so. Same with my grandpa. He died on Sunday and I'd give anything to give him a hug now. I'm really sorry for your loss. I hope that times get better for you. My prom date. I thought we were going as friends. I was too young and stupid to realize how much she liked me and put herself out there, just to have me not notice. Owe her an apology for that. I was that girl once. Finally, a mutual friend sat us both down and asked us why we weren't dating because we were both clearly into each other. We'd been on a few dates as friends. We looked at each other and shrugged and said, I guess we're together now. Several years later, she told everyone at our wedding that we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for her. We both joke about how many signals we were both putting out and missing entirely. Whoever organized this event of thousands of people, most of which I don't remember. Good idea. Sumione's answering some questions. My best friend Gabrielle. She died from cancer when we were 12, it was so hard watching her go. I named my firstborn after her and am best friends with her little sister now. I miss her. I met a man on a plane once, sat next to me. He was about my dad's age and later I found I was about his daughter's age. We started chatting, and just a few days before I had just cut off contact with my veteran alcoholic father. He asked me about myself and I told him I worked in child welfare. He then told me he was a veteran addictions therapist. I don't even remember how we got on the topic, but by the end of the flight he was telling me, tell your dad you love him. Tell him you want him to get sober for you, because you want to see him live a happy and full life. It was such a bizarre encounter with what was going on in my life at the time, and am not religious, but maybe divine intervention placed us in that place at that time. It looked for him to tell him how much that conversation meant to me, that it was the most impactful meeting with a stranger I've ever had. Edit, update commented below. Wow, this really blew up overnight. Thanks for the awards and love, everyone. I really wish it had a happy ending. I did have this conversation with my dad, but unfortunately it was not enough. He has since been in and out of jail, the hospital, court, etc. But this stranger's conversation was the first time anyone encouraged me to put my hurt aside and give it one last shot to communicate my love for my dad, and my want for him to have a good life for himself. Although it wasn't enough for him, it had a profound impact on me. I'm less angry at him and just more sad, but I feel a little more understood after meeting this man on the plane. If you are an addict or family member loved one of an addict, I see you and I feel your pain with you. It's not easy. Don't give up. My mom. She died on the 2nd of this month. I'd give anything just to get a hug from her. As a teenager, I'm 73 now, I got a job at Los Angeles County General Hospital. I worked in medical records and had to hand deliver records to the various wards. I worked the night shift when most of the wards had the lights turned down low for the comfort of the patients. One night I'll never forget, while quietly walking through one of the cancer wards on the 11th floor, out of the darkness came a man's voice, "Mom, is that you?" I felt so sad. I just went on with my business, but his voice has stuck with me to this day. Literally crying right now. Not sure heart-wrenching is even enough. Wow. Thank you for sharing something so visceral and moving. Great reminder that everyone out there are actual people. My husband. Even though it's likely he's already beside me. Then I'd finally get to introduce him to my grandfather. I think I would do the same. My husband and I met when we were still teens, just before my grandfather passed. They have similar interests, and I can't help but feel like they could have been such good friends. I've always wished I could have introduced them to each other. Edit, this is the most upvotes I've ever had on anything. I know it isn't a big deal, but the last thing I was expecting was to wake up to so many notifications. My grandfather was a wonderful man and it feels like he has been honored in some way. I couldn't be more happy that this is my most popular comment. Thank you for the upvotes and virtual hugs.